So I grew up on a plantation in Ruleville, Mississippi, in the Mississippi Delta. My parents were tenant farmers. Actually, they lived on a place, and we worked there for a living. Agriculture is all I know. Been farming. I guess I've been in agriculture since I was 9, basically working consistently from 9 to present. I had different agriculture jobs every summer until I graduated. And I went to Alcorn, of course, and majored in agriculture, and worked there on various programs that the university had that I could do summer work, student work, basically there on the farm there at Alcorn. So had a chance to work there, and then graduated from college, and first job was an assistant county agent in Bolivar County, Cleveland, Mississippi. Agriculture was always my dream, but the idea of actually owning a farm was far-fetched for me then, being just a son of a tenant farmer. A friend of mine was looking in the papers, and he saw some property up there that was being foreclosed on, and he told me about it. So that was my first farm. It was 60 acres and a house, and I bought that place and began to raise some cattle on it. One of the farmers who I had been assisting for some years in terms of working with him on his beef cattle farm learned that he was ill. So he came by the office and he made me an offer. He says, hey, I know you like my place. You've said it every time you come out there, you're basically. And he says, I want you to own this place. I want to give you the opportunity to purchase it. And he says, this is what you need to do. He says, you need to go to FSA and see if you can get a loan to buy the place. And I was elated. And I did that, and I got the loan. The fear of debt, the fear of large debt, it scared me. Here I am, young man. I had family, and they talking about, $250,000 or so, and I'm thinking, man, I don't want to assume that kind of debt right now, and frightened by that, and almost missed my calling. This was my time to own 250 acres now. From 60 acres, then I'm a 250 acre place, and so it worked out. Today, it's called Walter Jackson's Family Farm. 5 years ago, that's the name that was given to the property by me and my family. We just worked the land, just had our heads down, trying to, make ends meet, trying to pay the notes, trying to stay ahead, trying to stay in good standings, and that was the goal. At the same time, understanding the goal, the long-term goal, and working toward that in increments was a way to sustain the property, to pay the notes, and to wait until I retire so I could spend some more time, on the place. Like a lot of cattlemen, I believe. Sometimes we're not actually doing the work. We just pull up out where our cattle are grazing and stop the truck and just sit there for hours without counting them. It's a sense that come over you that if one's missing, if number 36 is not there, I can feel it, that she's not here, Well, she must be having a calf, she must be injured, let me go and find her. And then after I go through and double check, then 36 is not there. Now, I might not know it's 36, but I know that one's missing. And so that's one of them things that comes over you, I guess it's just instinct, just looking at the cattle, watching their behavior, seeing what they're eating, watching the calves' behavior, admiring the calves for their quality and this type of things, thinking about replacing bulls because of some genetic something that you see in your cattle that you want to change, thinking about performance in terms of, okay, this calf is 3 months old, she should be weighing this, and she looked like she's weighing that, or it looked like he is excelling in that way. This cow's really doing a good job. You know, you're looking at feet and eyes and udders and different parts of your cattle. All those things are instinctively important in terms of making sure these cattle are in a position to perform at their best. For some time, the only fresh water I had was in the corral. And I could literally catch my cattle by opening the gate, and they would run in the corral and fight for the water, push out the way, because there wasn't a big trough in the corral, but they would push, and I could catch them that way by just opening the corral door, because they knew where the water was. They knew it was there, and they would go for it. I know they love the fresh water from that, and then if you give them the choice between the fresh water and the pond, they're going to choose the fresh water. They're not going to go and drink pond water. They're going to choose the fresh water if they had free choice.
Oh, explain what the practice is here and what's called in common terminology, and just how it benefits your operation.
Oh, so Delaney, this particular practice right here is commonly referred to as a watering facility, but it consists of about 3 components basically. The first one is called a pipeline, and so fundamentally what we do is we take a 1 inch. This is 1 inch PEX pipe, yeah. And you can use also PVC, 1 inch, but we put a water line from the watering meter, so it's up there, all the way to here, and we put a black backflow device right there at the soil surface there to prevent the backflow from going. So the first part is the water line, which is the most important, the pipeline. So we have a pipeline, again, with 1 inch PEX. And then the next component of this facility is the heavy use area protection.
Yes.
So what the specifications call for at least 10 feet from the rim of this watering facility in all directions to prevent the cattle from bogging, from getting, bogging. So we have 10 feet on each direction, except for this particular direction, because this facility is designed on the fence line.
Right.
When they are not designed on the fence line, then it would be 10 feet around the whole circumference of this particular watering facility. Right. The whole idea is to provide fresh, cool drinking water, clean drinking water to the livestock versus the pond. We had an old pond site. As you can see, there's a group of trees where the pond has silted in, some 60, 70-year-old pond back there, and we decided to just break the lid on that pond and create fresh, clean drinking water for our livestock, and they prefer this particular water.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. Now, is this suitable water for the mama and the
calves?
Baby calves?
Yes. So newborns, of course, wouldn't be able to drink from this tall fountain, but a calf a month old or older are able to drink from here. Very suitable for both cow and calf in this particular pasture here. Typically speaking, early spring is when we get the best utilization of this particular pasture, and we have cows and calves in here, and they tend to get along just fine, just fine with it.
Yes, and the agency provides the tank and the water line and installation, what assistance that you get provided in the installation application of this unit?
So the first assistance I got was the technical assistance that they provided to us.
Yeah.
The conservationists came out and we had a conversation about the lack of water, and my concern was the old pond drying up, basically.
Right.
That was my initial concern.
Alternative.
But as he came out and started to talk to me about alternatives, we came up with the idea together about putting a watering facility here.
Yeah.
And so that was very pleasing to me to do that. So we moved forward with that, and I was able to get financial assistance for the pipeline, for the trough and tank here, for the float valve that's connected right here that manages the amount of water in here, keep it from overflowing, and for the heavy use area, the concrete area. Now, in some parts of the state and some farmers choose to use a gravel pad for their heavy use area protection, where they use a geotextile and crushed limestone on top of that. They work fine. They work fine. But for me and my desires, I chose to use the concrete because I wanted to cut down on the operation and maintenance, the maintenance part of it. You know, the gravel pads, you have to get in there and maintain them a good bit. This one has been here a year, one season, and I have not had to do much maintenance to it. You can see we're getting some weeds around it because in the fall we did not cut them, back, of course, but we'll move those back and put our temporary fence back, and we'll have the cattle grazing in this area here this spring.
That's a good idea to enhance your operation and the application and make it more feasible, because I think at one time, if you had some water source, if you had a farm pond and it was your water source, then the watering trough, it was not eligible. How did that work, if you can recall back in the day, and what has changed since then?
Yeah, see, I've been farming this place a little over 30 years now. And when I first bought this place, it had a few old ponds on it, and that was it. There was no fresh water anywhere, very few cross fence. This place was actually cropped. As you can see, there's some terraces out in some of the fields out here where the place has been cropped a little bit. So the place was actually cropped. And because of conservation concerns, the best use for this land is forages, basically. And so we basically planted forages all over this farm and began to try our hand at the beef cattle operation. So that's kind of how we started. And when we initially started, I was privileged to be an extension agent, and I had a close relationship with the people at Farm Service Agency and USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, and so I was able to go in and apply for practices to begin to improve the efficiency of this particular place. We were running 72 cattle when I first got the place, and we were able to run those cattle, but we wasn't doing it efficient. So we decreased in our numbers over the time because of some unforeseen circumstances, and then we came back and started to build back to close to that number now as we started to grow back into the cattle operation. This water is going to be vital, extremely important, as we begin a speedier rotation through this entire place and using the whole place. So.
And one of the advantages about it, Walter, is it never overfills and places water on the ground, and then when the cattle get ready to water, they don't trot down the area, because like I say, you have a heavy use area, you have a slab, but at the same time it eliminates water waste and water usage, and also it helps environmentally by having this trough installed. You're
exactly right. There's some environmental benefits from it for sure. On any given day, you might come out and you might catch a fawn and his mother drinking, from this trough. The cattle, again, love it, and it's just better, there's no bogging around here. You know, when cattle get into an area, they defecate and urine in that area, bog it all in, and so you have a mess.
Yes,
you know, and calves that have been castrated or newborns with their navel cord still fresh can get into those bacterial areas and just have a problem starting, disease starting to fester up in those areas, get infections started. And it's just best to have areas like this where they can come in, get a drink of water. This concrete is hard and not really comfortable for them on their hooves.
Right.
But they can come in, get some water, and move off of this area. You know,
Right.
you don't want them to loaf around here a lot. So they'll drink the water, they'll move back to softer ground, and you know, have a pleasant life, so to speak.
That's it.
Happy cows.
Happy cows. And I think we are tackling several environmental potential concerns right here with these two practices, water troughing and the heavy use area. It's helping improve and sustain water quality, and it's also helping efficiency in water use and management. So at the same time, your livestock are getting healthy water. They're not getting water that's basically from your ponds where you have other bacteria in it that they have to ingest and may cause other health problems. And also, in addition to that, you having a use of the water supply. You get water from the municipal water sources, and that in turn prevent the agents from having to invest in a well, because just depending on your district or your area, you need to inquire about what my water supply is, what are my opportunities to utilize water on my farm operation.
Yes.
And that helps in an economics way, and plus that helps you as a producer, as a farmer, a landowner.
Right. Well, you know, wells are important. You know, some farmers need them.
Yeah, right.
In this situation, we are close to community water, and right along the main highway here, so we're able to make use of the community water. You know, here in order to get the cattle, you know, drinking water, fresh water. Some farmers need wells, and they are important, you know, to those farmers that need it. But in this case, I really didn't need one, and so we making a go of this community water here.
Exactly, and it's meeting your needs.
It is.
Because it's helping with your farming operation.
It is.
And we look forward to being able to utilize this as a example of what can be on an area that you might see that is in need of the right facilities in order to have a productive, successful livestock operation.
Right. The big piece is the grazing distribution. You know, water is important, definitely.
Yeah.
They need the water, but being able to utilize the forages in this field was critical to me.
Right. Yeah.
And to improve the performance of the cattle, and just to you know, we're about forage farmers, or cattle farmers are about growing and using grass, you know, using the forages that are available to us.
Yes, right.
And when we can use those forages efficiently by having a strategically placed watering facility, it helps all of us.
Yeah, water is life.
I don't know if in central Mississippi or in Holmes County we're ever going to be able to do without hay entirely, but we're trying to minimize the days that we're feeding hay by planting winter annuals, planting clovers, trying to extend the grazing season on both ends so that we can minimize the amount of stored feed that we feed them, because that is the most expensive thing that we do on a beef cattle operation, is putting up hay and feeding it. You're taking something that the cattle would naturally graze, you're having to store it. Takes a barn to store, to keep it in good quality, and then you have to take it back out there and give it to them. In the winter here we have rain, you know, and bogging around the hay, you know, rings and that kind of type of thing gets to be a problem, gets to be an issue, because if you're concerned about soil health and soil quality, you know that can't be good for your soils, the bogging. You know, if it's I got something to do, I'm going to go and put out a couple of rings, bales of hay, and go, then that happens. You know, if I have some time, I can cut the twine off the hay, I can unroll it down a hill or down a slope, and then the cattle seem to gather around that, and you don't have all that trumping and bogging like you would around the hay ring. So those are some things that I juggle in terms of time and in terms of, what that hay looks like. Grass is definitely going to help with the erosion in it, but the main thing that they do is provide a quality forage for livestock during a time when they desperately need it. So what I want the cattle to do is come in here and just bite, just grab, just bite. Yeah. And they're going through here and they're just biting, just arbitrarily biting. Then when you open this up and you see this green material in here, and you can see there's some vetch and there's some clover and there's some voluntary ryegrass in here, and some scratch factor old forages left, and cattle can digest this. They can begin to perform with this even in this condition, even at this time of year.
That's it. They're a cocktail of multiple type of species in its diversity in the stages of growth and maturity, and some of it may be healthier than the others, but all of it is providing some form of nutrient fiber to this system, to the whole raw system. Correct. Now, one thing I want to ask you about all this, your liming program. How do you go about determining? You do a soil test annually, or you do a soil test through multiple years, and the pH that comes? What type of system have you determined that best suits your operation for lime?
So we try a group of things basically, and typically what we try to do is soil test this place once every 3 years. Every 3 years. Okay, so in doing so, we believe that we can keep up with the pH and with the requirements that the fertility that the soil and the forages need. Yeah. And by doing it, I'm not able to lime and fertilize this entire place in one season. So I divide the place up into fifths, basically. So those 2 fields up on the hill, basically, will be the fields that I will treat with lime this season. And then next year, these fields right in here, I will treat with lime. Yeah. The following year, the fields south of us, we'll treat those, and then behind that, we'll come back over here to this field, and then we'll make our way back round in the 5th year, back over here. So every 5 years, I'm able to lime so many acres, and what that will do is kind of go light on my pocket, and also give me an opportunity to keep the place, relatively speaking, with a reasonable pH to grow forages here. Now our natural pH is here about 5, and that's a long way from 6.5. Optimum, So we're trying to bring it at least 6.5 by putting just ag lime is what we've been using here, and following the soil test recommendations on most of the fields. Now we're not able to follow the recommendations on soil tests on the pastures where the cows are actually grazing, but on the hay fields, we're following the recommendation for sure, because we find ourselves mining a lot of phosphorus and a lot of potassium out of those fields, and they really need that fertilizer in those times of year when you're really haying and concentrating, really haying in the area. So that's why one of the reasons I like to rotate my haying. We'll graze this area a little while longer this year, and then hay some of the areas that have not been traditionally hayed, in order to just keep a balance out of here in terms of where our nutrients are. So that's kind of what we've been doing with our liming program,
and with that
5-year rotation.
5-year rotation, and with that staggering system, I'm thinking that, like you say, that benefits you economically, and also is a good management tool. Now, at the same time, you have pretty much one soil type that covers your whole farm, or you have multiple units, or you have a complex of soil types.
So we have a couple. That's a Memphis series kind of back in that area in the south part of the place there, and then we're on some lowering sickle loam up on this end here.
Right.
So those two kind of close together in terms of how we manage them. So we kind of manage them the same, throughout the operation. We treat it all as one soil type basically, and just follow the soil test recommendations and do that. Lime and prices, man, lime is like $60 a ton to have it, delivered here.
Yeah.
And then the spreading cost is going to be another $15, $20.
Right.
So lime gets to be expensive. That's why we break it up into these 5 quadrants,
right.
quadrants, but break it up into 5 areas.
Yeah.
And
basically, in soil terminology, most of these surfaces are strongly acid naturally.
Yes.
So it will not be far from what your recommendation that you just described to be strongly consistent with the alignment program,
right.
because they both are similar in texture and in alkalinity acidity levels. Okay, another thing we're looking at is your potential. Do you drill it in? Do you apply it? How do you apply your lime when you do it?
We just broadcast it over the top.
Broadcast over the top.
Generally, it's an early spring or fall application. Whenever we can get the spreader buggy, we use our local farm supply stores for ag lime, and when we can get the equipment and the ground will hold the equipment, not so wet, and we put it out. So in another 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be putting lime out in this area up on the south side of the place, right?
And like you say, for your hayland, that's where you apply your liming program pretty much. Okay, then therefore it's going to be a timing of the year. What time of the year you normally prescribe the best time to apply your liming program?
Well, the best time to do it will probably be in the fall, the fall of the year, when so we can get, lime requires a bit of weathering so it can actually take effect, right? And so the best time will be in the fall of the year, but we can't always get the equipment that we need because we are in competition with the farmers in the Delta that's planting their cover crops and doing other stuff and need to have bigger acreage and need the equipment, It's more feasible for the farm supply store to work with a guy who has 1,000 acres and to work with a guy who only wants to do 50 acres, so they get priority, basically. But when we can get the bug in the machines and when I can afford it, that's kind of when we do it. So I just try to make sure that we get it out in the spring, in between, say, October and May. I'm trying to put out the lime. Now the fertilizers, of course, we try to do split applications. We want to put some fertilizer out at green up, and then we want to come right after a hay cutting or right after a graze period and go back out and put a little bit more out there if we're going to do a pasture. But typically we just fertilize in our hay fields, but we try to keep the whole place lined because where the cattle are grazing today may be a hay field this fall. Just depends on what kind of forages are left there.
That's it. Yep. And like I say, then that type of program, it really keeps your grazing land, your hay land, everything healthy for whenever you get ready to make that rotation, whenever you get ready to make that decision. Your ground is suitable for that particular type of activity or application.
Yes.
Yeah. And we want to just really emphasize the importance of healthy soils, make healthy grasses, make healthy livestock, make healthy food, and it's a cycle that is really healthy, make a healthy environment. Also, the more lime requirements that you meet, the healthier the soil condition is. You already have your nitrogen that's going to, you just described with your vetch and clover, and you're just putting nitrogen back in the ground. Okay, so then the only application you would really consider then is your P and your K is your application. So that would be what you would concentrate on as an operator in order to be a good manager.
Right, right. And one of the indicators of having some health in the soil is when you can reach down in February, in the 1st of February, and you can pull up these clovers and vetches and other things starting to grow in the soil.
Yes.
That's an indicator to me that something is going on below ground.
Below ground.
That's conducive to the production of these forages.
Right. That's it.
And that's the beauty of it all.
That's it.
Is you see the benefits, with your own eye. You don't have to do a soil test to see that you have some forages growing. But
Right.
certainly we have to do a soil test to know that what we're doing, because we don't want to over apply anything. We can't afford to do that.
No,
Right.
can't afford to do that. Yeah, yeah.
Cool season grasses are superior in quality. So we're going to get a healthier cow that's calving in the spring. By the time that they have that calf is 45 days old, ready to graze himself, then we have some superior grass that the cow and the calf can graze. And we're able to get them to be ready to breed back on time by the time, we're ready. So you can shorten your breeding season. It all works together if you have green forages there, and it limits the concentrated feed that you have to feed them. That's an expensive deal, trying to feed out of a bag, feeding, concentrates, corn, corn byproducts, or some of the other feeds that are out there available. No matter what it is, if it's in a bag, it's expensive. It's expensive to feed, and the cow's gut is made to digest forages. It's important to know that and to try to balance that.
And we are on an upland, and we see a winter cool season cover. And let us know what's your recipe and how it has helped improve, and what your thoughts are as far as we go into a climate discussion about climate change, global warming, climate smart, all of them things. That's what we'll segue into. But right now, let's know how you got started as far as planning this cool season cover, and what's the mix, and how it has helped, what improvements are standing to be made on this ground here.
Okay. All right. So the base cover for this particular field is a Bermuda grass, Bahia grass mix. And in the fall, what we do is come in, we lightly disc this whole area, and we seeded it this year to a mixture of oats, wheat, and ryegrass. We use a diversity because, again, I don't like monocultures. Trying to get some early grazing with the oats, and trying to get some sustain the grazing season and lengthen it with the ryegrass, basically. So we planted wheat, oats, and ryegrass in this area, fertilized it, and we have a stand here. Now, this winter did not allow us, if you remember, we had a really dry fall, so we didn't get any rain to start with. And then after we got rain in November, then we started getting a little grass to start to come up, germinate and come on. And then we got cold snap back here a few weeks ago, where we had some ice and stuff up here. And so the grass is starting to come back, and look like we might be able to get in here and begin to do some heavier grazing in this area here as time go on. The whole thing about climate smart and the whole thing about sequestering carbon is keeping green material out all the time, year round. And so we are trying to do that here in these 2-3 pastures here, basically, by overseeding winter annuals in this area. And when I say overseeding, we did take a disc and we chopped in here a little bit too, to get a better soil to seed contact. it's been my experience that when you just throw it on top of the ground, you don't get the germination or cover that I desire to warrant putting out the fertilizer and warrant the cost of the seed and all that stuff.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is make sure we get as much forage growing as possible. Now, keeping this green all the time, we are sequestering carbon. We're keeping a live root in the system. We're also keeping green material out here year-round, basically. So when this grass is mature, it will probably be grazed really hard there the first part of last of May, first part of June. That'll be the end of the ryegrass.
Right.
But right in there, that's where the summer grasses, where the Bahia grass and the Bermuda grass really start to take off, and so it's green. And then next fall, hopefully we get the rain, early rains like in October, and so we're trying to plant again. We'll drill this in here or scratch it and put some more in here,
right,
like that. Now, my heart is to do more of this across the farm, across the landscape.
Right.
And next year, what we're hoping to do is this pasture and this about 50 acres across this tree line. We want to do the other 50 acres too, so that we can even start grazing earlier. Move the cattle in on some of this, take them back off. Move them in, have a rotational system such that we can benefit from some of this grazing that's got big enough. Right. Some of the wheat and oats like that get big enough early. Benefit from that, and then take them back off. Even if we just leave them on for a few hours a day. Put them on a better nutritional plane than what we have this year. So every year we're trying to improve, but we certainly want to keep something green available for the environment, for the ecosystem, and to work on this global warming piece, because we're starting to see bigger storm events, 3-inch rain the other day. The last weekend before that, we had up to 5 to 6 inches of rain, rain for big events, and not anything in moderation, just big events and storms. I told you about the tornado that came through and took out the barns and those type of things. So we're starting to have these big events,
yes, sir,
and that's indicative of the climate issues that we're having. And again, the drought really put a hurt on many cattle farmers in this area because of our hay situation. We were not able to harvest on many farms. Farmers were not able to harvest enough hay, and so that made hay sales really go up for those who had surplus forage, and then it also made a lot of people start to harvest fields that were not quality hay, and so when we harvest hay that's not of quality, we really hurt our cattle this time of year when they really need good supplemental feeding. Right. We are planning for the future. We have, with the help of NRCS, we were able to get some cross fencing, and you can see we have begun the process here. We've have our posts and brace posts and all in place. We just need to, pull the wire, stretch the wire, and we're waiting on a good day to do that. The reasons for the way we're trying to manage and graze the place is so that we can control the grazing and we can limit the amount of feed that we actually having to feed these cattle.
Right.
And by doing that, we're hoping to be able to move the cattle into this area from the gate that's north of us,
right,
and then into this area and watch the forages. I would tell you we're going to leave them here a week, but that's not so. We're just going to watch the forages. When we think they got half of it, we're going to move them to the next paddock over here. And then watch it, and when we see that we got half grazed, we're going to move them into this back side. And it's smaller than the other side, so we know that we can't keep them here long, but we're going to watch it, and then we'll bounce them back over to where they were and let this area recover. Let this area recover. Keep this blade, keep this leaf growing. Keep this, because this is where we are sequestering the carbon from.
Right. That's it.
Right. This is going to make the difference in the climate smart. That green leaf that's on this plant.
Right.
More leaf we can get, the better we're going to be off.
Yep, and it's sequestering carbon, and it's using carbon for an energy source so it can grow. But the main thing is carbon is not being escaped back into the atmosphere.
Exactly.
Yes, and I know you said that based on our moisture and the rainfall, and you had not already commenced grazing, one of the other reasons is the compaction. You have a livestock herd, then they compact the ground when it's soft and moist. It's too wet.
Right.
So, and you have your system, your cross fencing, try to manage according to that wetness condition. So explain.
It's been pretty wet. We like I said, we had like 5 inches of rain about 14 days ago, and then about 3 days ago we had another 3 inches. So this area has been pretty wet down in here, particularly in the lower parts of the field. So we don't like to graze areas when we got those conditions, because the hoofing action of the cows really do more damage to the forages that we got coming along than the benefits they get from grazing those areas.
Right.
So with cross fencing, we're able to move them back out.
Yeah.
You know, until we get this a little bit more firm,
right.
and then put the cattle back in here. You
right.
know, off and on, just bouncing them off and on. It's kind of a you know, put and take system. You just watch and see what happens. So you have to be watching what's going on the place in order to manage it the way that it needs to be to be managed.
Yes.
I bought this this place in an effort to fulfill an ambition that I had to raise livestock, but more so as an extension agent. I saw farmers educating their children through their farm. You know, when I went to a particular farm, depending on the time of year it was, you know, I saw a farmer and I saw his 5 or 6 or 7-year-old kid in the truck with him. That was attractive to me. It really was, because I didn't do it much, but that reminded me of when my dad and I were looking over the fence at the livestock. That moved me in the extension arena to see that, and I always wanted that for my children. You know, I didn't ever think it would become a reality, but when it did become a reality, that was my way of spending time with my children, spending time with my grandchildren, introducing them to agriculture, getting them to understand just life and death. I wanted to have something not just to leave my offspring, but something to educate my offspring in something different than football or basketball. I did want to get them in a different arena than that. You know, if I can educate my children, my farm is my platform to do these things. You know, people stop by, farmers, I meet people, you know, sometimes they just buying hay. But in the hay buying conversation, we get a chance to talk about prescribed grazing. We get a chance to talk about fertility. We get a chance to talk about what time we need to cut the hay. We talk about weed control. We get a chance to talk about interseeding legumes. We get a chance to talk about practices that are on the place. We get a chance to talk about cattle drinking water, the fencing systems, the gates, the posts that we buy, just all different things, just casual conversations that farmers can gain from. And that's what the farm allows me to do, is to interact with the community and to help people that stop by. And I enjoy that.
I am Angela Williams, and we are here at Annie B's Family Farm in Lexington, Mississippi.
Who put this together?
My brother, Roosevelt is his name, we call him Teddy. He built this, And my nephew painted it.
Wow, wow. And this was to go, you're going to put this somewhere, right?
Yeah, we're building, we tried last year, it didn't quite work out, but we're gonna have a sunflower field.
Okay.
And this is gonna sit in the sunflower field.
And that's right back here?
Right back there, yep.
Sunflower field right back there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, this is really the prime spot. It's a nice high spot on the farm. You
Yeah.
kind of see everything from here. Right.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get Teddy to build a second one and we'll leave this one here.
I think that's what
He built it in a couple of days, so it didn't take him that long to get it done.
It sounds like an overwinter job.
Right, right.
Just a beautiful plot of land here, as you can see. And how did you get this land? How did you come into this?
Well, my grandmother owned a little bit over 100 acres. She deeded off land to all of her children that were in the area, and this land is the land that we grew up on as little kids. My parents and their 8 children. So we've been on this land for quite some time.
In this house?
In this house, but it was a lot smaller than it is right now.
How big is this one now?
This one is about 1,800 square feet at the time. All 10 of us grew up in a 1,300 square foot house.
And it was not brick then?
It was not bricked. No, not at all.
Wow. Well, things have certainly changed out here.
Yes. Yes, they have. Yes, they have.
So,
but it's still beautiful though.
It's still beautiful. It's the same. Yeah. Was it this beautiful growing up?
Yeah, or more. Yeah, a lot more trees around. We had a lot more fruit trees around when we were growing up. But yeah, still is beautiful.
What kind of fruit trees?
We had peaches, plums, blackberry bushes, muscadines. We had everything. I say now, when I go into the grocery store and I love all sorts of fruits, I buy blackberries and blueberries and strawberries, and I get upset at how much I have to pay for them when I used to eat them for free growing up. So.
Now, are those things that you would like to have again one day?
Yes, we've started a very small just tryout in terms of bushes, but yeah, we do plan to do more in terms of blackberries, muscadines for sure, because everybody out here at least loves muscadines.
Well, I heard you talking about that earlier when we were over there.
Yeah.
You were asking about the muscadines, and apparently everybody's already eaten them.
Yes, they're already gone. You know, muscadines have a really short growing season, so you got to get in where you fit in with those, and apparently everybody snagged them up right away, so I missed out on that. But
so y'all just eat them right off the vine?
Yes.
Right. No time to even make a jam out of them, because
not in this area. They don't last that long.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long have you actually been growing this as a farm out here?
2021 was our first spring growing season, so we're about 3 years in now.
Yes, Angela, and I can relate to you growing up on a farm. I grew up on a farm myself in Central Alabama, matter of fact. And I used to envy my cousins because from up north, we thought they had it going on, had it because they live in the city. Mm-hmm. But just didn't know I had it all. We had it all because we lived in the country, had all the room to spread and play any type of activity, hide and seek, all those different things.
Hide and seek, red light, green light, them trees over there were full.
That's it.
All of the above, yes, absolutely.
That's it.
Those steps, they used to be a lot bigger. They were our choir stands.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. What type of farming systems did you all do back during your early years? Did you all do tillage where you had the mule and the mow plow? You started out with the tractor farming equipment?
None of that. When we were younger, we had some crops. I had another set of grandparents that lived about maybe a mile or two down the road. Everything was hoes and rakes. It was all hand back then. We didn't have any mules, we didn't have any tractors, we didn't have anything. And so on my other grandparents' properties, we had, vegetables, pretty much everything you want to eat. Plus we had an apple orchard and we had some more plums and things of that down there. Apples and pears, I believe that's where we got our pears from. So we had apples and pears down there, and up here we would have just mostly vegetables and the fruit trees that we talked about. And we also had some chicken where we got our eggs from in the back.
Oh, this just sounds.
Which
like
is something else we plan to be building our chicken coop.
Okay.
In the winter. So.
Yeah, good. All right, that's nice.
Yeah.
I have some eggs here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow. Well, that really sounds like a little bit of heaven right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I tell people all the time we were really poor, but we never went without food because we always had somewhere to go. We didn't have to depend on having to buy stuff to be able to eat.
Now, what role did you play in that? Were you out here helping to grow and
free
all the
labor.
kids? You were free labor.
Yeah.
You were the labor. You were the labor.
Free labor. Yep. I still remember. I think it only happened a couple of times, but my daddy killed a hog over there once, and we had to be involved in that. But we were just free labor.
Gotcha.
That's the best type of labor. And in addition, you meant, I'd forgotten about that, the hoes and rakes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You
all
really
we
didn't have to
had.
use chemicals back at that time because you had that, you thinned it, and then you also removed the weeds with
Yes.
the hose and stuff.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So now we've come to up here years later, everything's chemical, some type of
Right.
commercial amendment that we use to remove weeds and other pests. So what are the things that you see now that you probably would still like to see done as far as an environmental approach as far as handling insects and weeds?
We still out here still have a bunch of holes in our in our garden shed, but we're mostly trying to use mulch and things of that nature to try to control the weeds. We also use neem oil to try to control insects and things of that nature from an organic and environmental standpoint.
And what do you call it? What do you call this field right here?
This field is called Mama.
This is Mama.
Yep, because Annie B is who we called Mama. She was our grandmother, but we called her Mama. So this is Mama. She's the original.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And what is this field over here?
That field over there is Daddy.
Daddy.
Yep.
Mama and Daddy over
Yep.
there.
And the tunnel is Big Daddy.
Big Daddy?
Yep.
Big Daddy. Okay, Big Daddy. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say you guys are going to put yet another field in? Put
Yes.
another field out there?
Another field in. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, what kind of stuff are you growing out here now?
This year we had tomatoes, purple hull peas, which were a huge hit, okra, also another big hit, and we tried our hand at peppers. They didn't work out quite as well, and cucumbers and squash. Squash are always another big hit.
So what were the issues with the peppers?
They just started growing in late. We planted them pretty early, but they didn't start coming in until just now, I think a few weeks ago. So yeah.
But what would you say the biggest challenges you've had out here have been in trying to get this farm going again?
Knowledge, trial and error. I mean, I know that that's important in learning, and everybody has to go through it, but just, trying to stay motivated when things don't go quite the way that you need them to. Resources have been a huge issue for us, but we've been working through that too. So I think those are probably the biggest ones.
Can you maybe tell us a little bit about your vision for the future, where you want to go, 3 years, 5 years down the line?
Mm-hmm. I would say 3 to 5 years down the line, we don't want the people in this community to have to drive 20 minutes to Lexington or 20 minutes to Greenwood to get their produce. We want them to be able to get at least some of it from us. So they can just call us up and they can come get it, or we can take it to them, whatever the case may be. We want Annie B's to be a resource for the people of the community the way it used to be.
Well, maybe we can jump into that just a little bit more. I don't know if everybody really understands Holmes County and where we are right now, but in your experience, is it easy to find fresh fruits and vegetables at the grocery stores? Are there any grocery stores?
The closest grocery store is about 15 to 20 minutes in Lexington, or about another 20 minutes to go to Greenwood. You will find better produce in Greenwood, I'm sure. If you go to the grocery stores in Lexington, the produce is not as great. I don't want to defame them, but it's not the best place to be in terms of produce. And on top of that, it's also pretty limited in the types that they have in terms of produce. Not just the quality, but the types are limited.
I will go on record then and be able to officially say that there are a lot of problems with access to fresh foods in the Delta.
Yeah,
there's a limited amount of grocery stores, and for a lot of people still out here in the community, there's, transportation can be difficult too.
Yeah.
And so it becomes very difficult for people to. It's such a shift. I mean, people who grew up actually being able to grow what you eat, and now being removed from that and very dependent upon what you see here now is a lot of fast food, and that's the primary source of
obesity and
exactly
disease,
and primary source of calories for a lot of people.
Right.
But it does lead to all of the health challenges out here as well.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
this is a goal of yours to help change that.
Yes, absolutely, because my grandmother was a source for the community. A lot of people came to her for a lot of different things, and I think that that's a tradition that we would like to be able to carry on for her. I think it's important for us. Annie B's for us is not a, hey, we plan to make a whole bunch of money, because we know, and most of us do pretty well on our own, but we want to be able to use the land for some good. We're going to keep the land. We're not giving the land away. So the best thing we can do with the land is to use it.
Right. Angela, it's been said that the best teacher is the ones that do it and know from the beginning to the end on how the progress and how the process goes. Now, as far as the youth in the community, you plan on reaching out to them or sharing what you have learned, and be able to hope that they take on that type of interest and
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that. Last year was the first year that we participated in the Ag Day at the high school down in Lexington. I believe it's Home Central High School right now. They've changed the name a couple of times. And from that, our 2 part-time workers were high school students who are interested in agriculture, who want to go to college and major in agriculture. So yes, we definitely want to influence the youth.
Right.
So that's fantastic. What kind of benefit did you receive from them as well?
Just seeing the excitement in them and knowing that they were interested and wanting to keep carried on, because, I mean, truth be told, most of the time you see farmers and they're much older people. I'm getting to the place where I'll probably be considered older too, but most of the time they're
late 20s. I don't think that's going to be old, right?
Thanks, right? But most of the time, people are much older. So to see that the younger generation is still interested in the land, and that they want to be able to use and work the land and make the land a part of, keep the land a part of how we resource food for everybody is important.
That's it.
Well, what do you think, based upon what we've talked about Climate Smart and our particular Climate Smart project, what do you think are the most important things that you want to get out of this that we can help you with?
I was super geeked when you said that you were going to have the probes in the land, and we would be able to get real-time information about the health of our soil. That was something that really excited me. The marketing help is something that obviously that really excites me. Having the resources again is something, people with knowledge is important. I think all of that is really great.
That speaks a lot to what the needs are, and we will absolutely work with you on those things too.
Yeah.
And the market part is there's the marketing part of it. and there's the building the market part of it.
Yes.
And then
We have tons of ideas, by the way.
I'm sure you do. I'm seeing the Andy B's chair over there, the statue, and we can tell y'all have a knack for marketing already.
Yeah.
But there's also the food safety side of it.
Yes.
That comes into play, and when you start thinking about maybe want to help some schools out and stuff like that, that becomes a factor as well.
Absolutely.
And so we definitely want to help you with that.
Yeah.
And I think what your mission here just aligns so perfectly with ours in terms of really wanting to keep the integrity of the land in place. And for us, sequestering carbon through those practices is a big part of that. Reducing greenhouse gases, or continuing the kinds of things that you're doing that don't release a lot of greenhouse gases, and using some things like crop rotation and cover even more to your advantage to help on pest management.
Yeah.
As well as developing the tilth of the soil. I think those are a lot of the things that we want to continue to work with you on.
Well, we're excited. We appreciate it. Thankful, all of the above. So yeah, we're ready to go.
All right, let's get growing.
All righty.
Let's do it.
All right. My name's Kenny Cannon. This is my farm, C5 Farms. We're located in Brandon, Mississippi. We grow and raise a variety of things. We grow crops, vegetables, greens, tomatoes, peppers, you name it. We also have goats, sheep, chicken, ducks, and guineas that we sell. Approximately plus rented, leased property, about 200 acres. I grew up right here on the place. My grandfather purchased the place, it was 160 acres. He owned this side of the road, he owned that side of the road. And I asked my father one day why my grandfather sold that side of the road. He said he wanted some neighbors. But anyway, my grandfather bought the property and he was doing a little farming. My father, he started buying equipment. There was dozers, backhoes, tractors around, and I was working a job, and I just decided one day, hey, go home. I mean, there's plenty of money. You can make a living right there on the farm. Grandfather bought the land. My father bought the equipment. Why can't you take it to the next level? So that's what I did. My father built the house there when I want to say about 6 years old. My mother and father built out here.
What are your earliest memories of being out here?
I can actually remember the house being built. We lived in Jackson and we would come out. Mom would bring me and my sister out on the weekends to see the progress. And I can actually remember.
So were you working in the fields out here as a kid, or did you have much farming going on then?
At that time, the only thing that was going on, my dad would raise a small garden, my grandfather would raise a small garden. They always had cattle and hogs. They raised hogs.
And did you help with that?
Yes. Yes, that was a chore. that was a chore.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What was that like?
They had 32 sows, and there's an old shed still on the property, still standing. What they would have to do is get those pigs off the ground before they could take them to market. And so those pigs was on a concrete slab in a building, and every Friday night, I would have to help my father clean that building out. He would walk around with the water hose, and I'd have a broom, pushing and pushing and pushing. And that scent would get in your skin. And that scent would get in your skin, and
my hands at school would smell like that hog shit for 2 days. It was embarrassing.
And yet, here you are, farming again as an adult.
Yes, I came back.
So what was the draw for you to do that?
What was the draw? I saw more opportunities. I saw more money on the farm. And my goal is to provide for my family right here. I don't want to have to leave home to go to work. I want to provide right here on the farm. I asked my father about going into the cattle. He told me to look into goats. He said there's a bigger market for goats. So I started researching the goats and actually started selling goats before I owned a goat. So I had to go get some goats, and I created a market with local Mexicans, Africans, Jamaicans, pretty much anybody from overseas that eat goat meat. And from there it took off to even more. They were looking for free-range chickens. I started purchasing sheep. So now we sell a lot of free-range chickens, sheep, goats, and we also sell cows right out the pasture. People come, they slaughter themselves, or either we'll slaughter for them.
Yeah, how many head of livestock do you have out there?
Cattle, here, there are probably about 15 weaning calves, and we have some more cattle down the street, probably about 30. Well, let me take that back, maybe about 20 head of females. And goats, there are about 60 goats. And sheep, last count on the sheep were 84. Well, these are
Meat.
Yeah, they shed. They shed themselves. You don't have to shear them.
Okay.
So that saves a lot of work.
Well, tell us a little bit about the weather and how you've seen that change since you were, or stay the same or change, or what has it been like since you were a kid out here?
I've seen it change. It seems to be getting warmer. I can remember as a kid wearing large coats, and now you can sometimes get away through the winter with short sleeves on the whole winter. So yes, I've seen it change. I install a lot of fences, and I'm noticing now that the ground is a lot harder and getting even harder than what it used to be. Harder to break up, dig holes, having to water more because it's drier.
Do you irrigate? Do you have a source of irrigation here on your farm?
Yes, we use drip tape. I hadn't put any out in this field yet, but the other fields we use drip tape.
And do you use municipal water, or do you have a well?
We have a well water.
When did you get that well installed?
That well was installed probably about 6 years ago.
How did that change your farming?
A whole lot. We was able to water.
You didn't have to
Cheaper.
years ago tote water.
Tote water.
Now, will you, getting back to your garden here, now will you cut down or pull up those okra plants once they are stop producing, or how do you manage that part?
When they stop producing, pull them up.
Pull them up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what do you do when you pull them up? You just toss them away, or do you try to grind them up or anything and use them as a mulching type?
What I would normally do is just disc them up. But like I said, I'm trying to do less till as possible. So this year I'm gonna probably pull them up and put them in my compost.
Compost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the word we was trying to get to.
Yeah, that's where I was trying to get.
Yeah, that's it.
I took this area here and I hayed the cows here. Three winters.
Mm.
So it was a lot of manure and grass put in this area before I even started planting. Then I come in about 2 years later and disced it up.
Mm.
And I've been trying different things to keep from tilling. I had this area filled with leaves last year.
I remember that.
I tried leaves, but it was too hard to come up with enough leaves to keep the place, keep it covered. So this year, I have collected quite a bit of cardboard. And I plan to, when those greens, frost get them, lay cardboard down. I'm thinking I may have to weed eat them first and then just lay cardboard down. But I've been trying different things to keep from no-tilling, but the products are kind of hard to get. I'm looking for an okra, maybe about this size, a little bigger. This one here would be too big.
Get tough.
Get hard, they say. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for, hopefully not to see any diseases.
Bugs.
Or bugs.
About how much have you harvested from this this row of okra?
How much have I harvested from this row of okra? I didn't keep exact records, but if I take a guess, I want to say about 5 or 6 bushels so far.
Man, that's a lot of okra. Okra sells good too. The market for okra is good.
Yes.
Are you able to get rid of it pretty quickly, or do you need to store it? You freeze it? What do you do with it?
I usually get rid of it the next day. If it gets picked today, tomorrow morning it'll be gone.
So you have people coming by to pick that up?
Yes.
Are you selling it by the peck or by the pound?
By the pound.
Now, how long has this field been in use over here?
This area has been in use 3 years.
And what was it before that?
Before that, it was pasture space.
So you rotated your cows to another place? Or
Actually, I just put a fence around this area here. Just put a fence around to keep the cows out. Cows, goats, and sheep out.
Do you have family that help with the okra picking and keep up with it? How does that work?
Yeah, my kids, they have some chores sometimes to get out here when they're not basketball, football, and school takes up a lot of time. But
Right.
So what is the most challenging part for you right now?
the most challenging part is getting it picked. Trying to keep up with getting it picked.
Do you have help for that?
Kids. The kids, what help I can get. Right now, I'm selling to the neighborhood. People usually just call me to see what I have ready. And also, my wife works at a hospital, so she takes a lot of vegetables to work. Those are the markets that we have right now.
Do people buy those in like a box, or how does that work?
Like these greens here, we bunch them up, $3 bunches. The okra is being sold by the pound, so it's gonna depend on what it is.
Ruts and
Gotcha.
What is my
create
vision?
ruts and so
Okay.
So without using chemicals,
To have
on the
people
pastures,
picking?
I can
I would like to have more planted, growing, and people helping to pick and plant, and hopefully to get into maybe some restaurants or some bigger, bigger places. I need all the assistance I can get as far as to help improve my soil, and on the marketing end and on the business end. I pretty much need help all the way around. I come from old school farmers, didn't keep records, didn't run the farm like a business, and that's what I would like to do. If I can create the farm like a business, most likely one of my kids will carry on. But if they have to get out here and work as hard as I do and not really seeing what's going on the money end and everything, I don't think they would carry on. But that's one of my goals also, is to get it set up so they just look at the books and say, okay, hey, yeah, I want to do this. I want to continue. I hate to see the property go to waste, grow up into trees and things, because I've seen it happen so much as I'm growing up in this neighborhood. Like all this property over here used to be clear. It was being farmed. And it's just, in the neighborhood, I see that all the farmers, the older farmers are retiring, can't manage the properties, and their children, or nobody's taking over, and things are just growing up. And my opinion is just a waste, that their grandparents and parents started this and nobody's continuing on. And I just hate to see what my grandfather did and father did, you know, just grow up in the trees, you know.
Hello, everybody. I'm David Watkins, and this is Delaney Johnson with Upland Farms, and we are here today at the Melton Farm as part of our Climate Smart initiative, and we are really excited to be here today. And we are here with the one and only
Ethan Melton.
Ethan Melton, right? And is it Melton Farm or Melton Farms?
Melton Farms. It's
Melton Farms.
Me and my wife argued about that. She said it didn't make any sense, but I said for some reason it sounds right to me. So.
You know what, it does something. We look around here and there's so many different plots, so much different activity. It really does make sense that this is farms instead of farm. Did you win on that or did she?
Yeah, she eventually she kind of grew on her. She said, yeah, we'll go with that then.
Right. So right away, I guess we're getting wife. Very important part of the decision making on this farm.
Oh, absolutely. If it wasn't for her, this wouldn't happen. She's the one that really pushed us into it. We started back in right after the pandemic. We've always hobby farmed. We had a very small plot. We grew for ourselves and everything. But after the pandemic is when we saw, hey, there's probably something here. You know, she if it wasn't for her pushing me into it, we wouldn't be here today. So
you were not always a farmer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've grown up farming. My grandpa farmed. His daddy farmed, and his daddy's farmed, and we've always done it. But funny enough, when I was a kid, my grandpa, he'd make me help him in his garden. I hated it. I swore up and down. I said, when I get older, I will never do this again. And
sure enough,
here I am.
There you go. There you go. So here we are in Adams County, in just outside or right in on the border of Natchez, here in Mississippi. And about how many acres is the total?
We're just under 37 acres. It's like 36.6 something. We're actively farming on about an acre and a half.
Okay. And that does not include the livestock?
No, the livestock, they graze the majority of it, probably 20 to 25 acres or so that they move around on.
And now, I guess we could look at, you're doing a number of different kinds of production on your farm. And you serve mostly farmers market, is that correct?
The Natchez Farmers Market's our main, that's our bread and butter. That's where we focus most of our attention. We're slowly expanding out to different vendor markets. My wife, she's gotten into craft making, so we're trying to stretch out to different vendor markets to generate extra income for the farm. We're there every Saturday. Whether it's rain, sleet, or shine, we're there.
Is that going to the winter months, or is that just about winter?
It's every week.
Every week.
Yes, sir. 52 weeks a year. We're down there.
Wow, you got something. That is a farmer.
We've been out there in the scalding heat to near thunderstorms, blowing tents away. We're out there.
That's right, and that's your main livelihood. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
That's why you got to be out there. You got to be making the money.
Yes, sir. We're not there. The farm don't get paid.
What are your key crops that you're growing here?
This is our first year doing a true market garden, or attempt at it. So we kind of threw everything at the wall to see what sticks.
What is your biggest seller? What's the thing that you're growing the most of right now?
Right now, we're really focusing on. We found this year that purple hull peas done really well. So we're trying to double down on those, and next year we will definitely be probably doing 2 to 3 times what we did last year as far as planting wise, because they were our #1 seller. We do really good on greens, mustard greens, and collard greens. Those do very well at the farmers markets. We did a big crop of corn this year. We plan on milling into cornmeal and grits. We haven't got to that yet, but we're hoping in the next few weeks to get that done and try it out for ourselves. And if it works well for us, we're going to try to move it to market and see how it does. I'll do a spring and a fall crop. I'm getting ready here in the next coming weeks to start putting in like some mustard greens and some collard greens in it, and it'll go until the frost kills it, and we'll probably put it to bed about around December maybe. We'll put it to bed and it'll rest until spring of next year.
Now, the vegetables are not the only thing you grow out here, right? You were telling us earlier about you have a little orchard out back too.
We've got a small orchard. My father-in-law, he started it probably almost 15 years ago now. He's passed now, so that's why I took it over, and we've replanted it, and we're trying to expand on it too, and hopefully in the next coming years it'll be productive for us. Right now, the only thing I'm harvesting is I got 1 peach tree and a couple blueberry bushes, but I've planted cherry trees, apple trees, pear trees. I've got some fig trees and a couple orange trees that hopefully they'll come together.
You say you had the 2 blueberry bushes, and you had how many gallons?
I think we got close to 10 gallons this year. They done very well. They're almost 7 foot tall at the very peak, and they're probably close to 5-6 foot wide. They're pretty big. They're old bushes, so
Wow.
They make a lot.
Wow, that's some good productivity out of the.
They do. I'd go out there every day, and I could fill up a gallon bucket almost every day.
And you sell them like that, I guess.
They do. We'd go to the farmer's market. We get there at 8. We're 8:30. We're set up. Usually by 9:30, 10, they're gone.
Wow. Now, what sells faster, the blueberries or the purple hull peas?
Blueberries. Blueberries are a very good seller. Purple peas are right there behind them, though.
And then you're doing this all by yourself.
Yes, sir. As far as the garden work and everything, it's mostly me. My stepson, when it gets really overloaded, he'll come out and help me pick sometimes. But as far as the planting and the cultivating, it's just me.
All right, Ethan, so you've got an amazing livestock garden out here. It's your livestock field out here. Can you tell us a little bit about what you got and how you set this up?
Yeah, we got cows, goats, chickens, and geese out here in this pasture, along with 2 livestock dogs. I use electric netting to help keep them in their individual paddocks, and then I rotation or move them out from paddock to paddock as they eat the grass, and that also helps with developing pastures. They'll put a little manure here, a little manure there in each pasture, help the pasture come back greener. It also helps with parasite control. If they don't stay in one area too long, it keeps them from picking up parasites. And also with multi-species grazing, it also helps control parasites, because a goat parasite can't really live in a cow, and a cow parasite can't really live in a goat, vice versa, and like that.
Right,
it also helps. And also the goats will eat what the cows won't, cows will eat what the goats won't, so it really optimizes each little area.
So you can get that whole thing trained like you need it to.
Oh yeah.
And then you rotate them out to a different paddock.
Yeah, so we move them depending on paddock. We try to shoot for about a week to 12 days. No more than that, because just parasite control. But depending on the area, like if the grass is a little bit better here, they can stay a little longer maybe, or maybe need a smaller area. If the grass isn't as good, they get a little bit of bigger area, or maybe not stay as long. It just really depends on the field.
All right, I don't think we need to ask, but we're going to ask anyway. Do you have a name for this high tunnel?
The greenhouse.
The greenhouse. Okay, that's an appropriate name.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the greenhouse.
This is it's a 2,200 square feet. It is 24 wide, 92 foot long, and high tunnel. This is our first year growing in it, so it's a pretty big learning curve what you can and cannot do in here. So there's a lot of experimentation beds. Some of the things we can see what we can grow into the winter. And our hopes is if we have a mild enough winter, maybe we can keep growing throughout the winter and never stop growing. We grow a variety of stuff in here. I've got tomatoes, I've got some squash, I've got zucchini, I've got bell peppers, hot peppers, I've got a few cabbage plants, a few hot pepper plants, and I had some cucumbers in here, but they've slowly petered out, and I'm waiting for some new ones to come in.
What would you say is the most important thing you learned about the crops here over the past year?
They grow very well in this soil. I did a mix of compost and just regular standard field dirt. We mixed it. They grow phenomenally in here. I've got some squash vines that grew 7 to 8 foot long. They would grow over here, and they were reaching almost middle of the greenhouse. So they grow very perfectly. They need very little fertilizer. I have an irrigation system set up on the perimeter beds. I'm still working on getting it set up for the center beds. That's why nothing's planted here yet. But they don't require as much water. I only water every 3 days for about 2 hours with drip tape. So they don't take as much water. They just need steady water.
What was your most successful crop in here?
Probably cucumbers. We've done very well with them. We used the trellises. If y'all were here just a couple months ago, these trellises were covered in cucumbers, and almost 10 to 12 feet in each direction. They were trying to grow down the side of the walls down there. We sold probably, I'd have to go back to my books and look, but I think we sold, from about 8 to 12 plants, we sold, I think, almost between 300 and 400 cucumbers.
That's a lot of cucumbers.
And that's not even counting like I say, we get a bunch that we had to throw away too, so they grew a bunch. They were very prolific in here.
The base of these planter boxes, do they have a floor in it, or is it just the ground surfaces?
They've got weed fabric underneath them just to keep existing weeds that were down there from growing up, and it also keeps maybe some moles, keep them out a little bit, like that, stuff like that.
But there's no bottom on here.
No, it's just the weed fabric and the ground.
Okay.
So I was wondering, is salinity an issue at all inside the beds?
You have to be careful with it because there's a balance, because you can overdo and underdo nutrients with water. Because if you put too much water, you're going to wash everything out of your bed. So it's a bit of a fine balance between putting enough nutrients, enough water in there, and keep from washing everything out.
We were also commenting just a minute ago about the height of the hip boards here. Those are what, good 7 feet?
It's almost 7 feet tall.
Almost 7 feet tall, where the hip boards are, which is why don't you tell us how that's benefited this environment in here?
Well, it helps give you as much natural airflow as possible, because you're only limited by maybe a 3 foot area where the wind isn't blowing straight across. So it lets in maximum airflow to help keep the area cool and help. It does help pollination to a degree with certain plants. It'll help blow the pollen around and everything and keep humidity out of here when you don't want it.
And especially if you have more vertical growth happening.
Absolutely. Like I say, especially with the cucumbers, right there is almost over 8 feet, and they were all the way up there over the spring.
That's amazing. That's right. So you were talking before about your affinity for animals and really the humanity of dealing with them. There's a quality of life for the animals.
A lot of people try to say like cows or they're killing the environment, but they're not. Cows, and properly handled and taken care of, are hurting the environment. They're not designed to be living tens of thousands in a small concrete pad. They're meant to be out in pasture, eating grass and in the natural life cycle of things.
Right.
I firmly believe, especially with our cattle, we raise our cattle, for beef production. My plan is to raise cows and sell for beef. I owe everything in myself to give that cow the best quality of life I can between the time it's born to the time it leaves. My goal, if I can make sure it only has one bad day in its life, that's the day we take it to slaughter. That's a job well done.
Yeah.
That's a job well done by you, and that's a good life for the cow.
Absolutely.
And that's a good. It's a good lesson for all of us, and but it's also just it's decency.
Absolutely. If it's a lot of people say meat is bad. I mean, meat's not bad. The way your meat is raised is bad. If everybody, granted not everybody can do this, but smaller farms can do this, and they can produce quality, humane beef for people to eat, and it's way better than it even tastes way better than what you can get at the supermarket.
Yeah.
I meant to ask you about this earlier. Are you your chickens are doing a great job in spreading the manure around and helping with that. They're an essential part of the rotation. But are you also raising eggs?
We do. We all of our chickens are egg layers. We don't do meat chickens here. It's just a market that we haven't got into. There's a lot of people that do meat chickens, and I just don't know if we can compete with them. But as far as eggs, they do good for us. We don't make a ton of money on eggs. They're more of we put them on our table at the farmers market. And they bring customers in. They buy eggs. They see we got other things. They buy other things. So,
right.
But all of our chickens are egg laying purposes.
That's excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, even I see that you practice minimizing your commercial fertilizers, insecticides, and herbicides, because you try to use homemade type, I guess, solutions. And also, you try to minimize the disturbance of your ground, and you also practice good land management, placement of the activity on suitable ground. And you have your pasture land, your grazing land in certain places, and you have your disturb your tilled ground in flatter areas. So you're already well on the road to providing good, sound management practices that we encourage as far as climate smart soil health. So what we are encouraged about bringing you on board as a participant is the things that you aspire, and the purpose and objectives of the program is going to real fit right into what you're already doing. It's not going to be a big lift of what you're already doing. So it should be pretty easy and less painful, and look like what you have established already. We just want to be a part of seeing it improve upon what's already here. And like I say, Dave was saying, in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, we should gradually see improvements. And even in your organic matter content in your fields and in your areas, we look at Mississippi more or less have 1/4 or 0.5% organic matter, mostly because a lot of our soils are not fertile. Okay, but we're looking at up to 3% in probably 45 years. We're looking at a 3% organic matter content. And you're really going to see a big boost in your production then at that time, because that organic matter, that's what drives the whole system. And with the right treatment, with the right practices installed and practice, then I think we can make that a reality. But so we off to a good start, and we thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to regular visits here in the future.
Absolutely, thank you.
I look forward to coming back and looking at that orchard and 4 years and seeing how much growth has happened there and what's new. Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Hopefully, we're hoping we're going to do everything we can. Hopefully, he'll make some for us. If nothing else, maybe it'll just be some fruit for us. But if we can have some for the sale to the community, even better.
Save a little for us.
Right.
That's right. Save a little for just a little for us.
Oh, yeah.
Just a couple of blueberries.
And let them know that time. That time is everything.
Ethan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. We're looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, man. Okay.